Hi, I'm Samuel Varghese, and this is Tools for Storytelling. In this episode, which is part 3 of a 4-part series, we'll be talking with Keach and Autumn about filtering good versus bad training in theater and film.
And action.
So as you're kind of drawing from all these different resources, whether it be a institution, college, school, conservatory, or from books in the library, resources online, what's a good way to sort of weed out the good from the bad, the stuff that you want to keep in your toolbox and the stuff that you don't?
I might sound like a good cliche answer, but I would say go with your instinct. If it doesn't work for you, don't try to make it work for you. Mm-hmm. If you hate actioning your scripts and you just think that it's garbage and you just like dread doing it every time, then it obviously doesn't work for you. And there's so many other techniques out there. I say just find the one that works for you. Like, you don't have to keep everything that you're taught. You don't have to feel any obligation to any sort of teacher or guru or whatever the heck. Like, you can kind of build something for yourself. Like, I mean, since I've been to so many different institutions now and I've had the opportunity and the privilege to learn from so many voices, I definitely have a like weird hodgepodge of a technique, the Alton technique, that I have kind of been lucky enough to create for myself. And I think every actor needs to do that. Or director or whatever. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to learn what works for you. It sounds a little hokey, but it's true.
Nothing speaks better than results.
Right.
So yeah, what gets you results? If you're using a certain acting approach and you're not getting callbacks, if you're using a certain approach to directing and your scenes are just a train wreck and you're not sure how to fix it, if you're using a certain approach to writing and your scripts are slow to come out and always come out wrong, I mean, find a new approach. It really, it's because it's your craft is A, subjective, B, highly personal because you're telling human stories.
It should be. Yeah,
the only really way to find what works is trying and doing and practicing. I mean, outside of that, I guess some sort of outside indicators, endorsement from people that you see as successful and respectable is always a good thing. So if you've got an idol in the industry, whether that's an actor, whether that's a director, whether that's a writer, find out about them, where they went to school, who they learned from, what techniques. If they're especially if they're a director or a writer, buy their book because a lot of them have books. Stephen King's got a book. Harold Clurman has a book.
David Mamet.
David Mamet has a book. Neil Landau has a book, if you know about him. I don't know if Sorkin has a book.
Probably.
Shonda Rhimes, I think, has a book. So find your idol and study what they did. Or at least just from someone you respect. If you're in an institution and there's one of your teachers that you're like, you got it figured out, ask them.
Yeah, I would just say, like, don't be married to any one thing. Like, once you try something and if you realize it doesn't work for you, you don't have to feel bad about that. Sure. I went to Stella Adler for 2 years, and I still have no idea what her technique is. We had about 10 minutes of Adler technique, and the rest was other voices, which was great.
Sure.
I think that actually really speaks to Stella Adler's vision, personally, is she was a wild human being, but she just loved humans. And so I think that it's great that we just had so many different influences. So I wouldn't say I learned Adler necessarily as the strongest voice. I had so many different influences, and I think that bettered me to have different voices. I don't think it's healthy or like, the best for you to just take one thing and be like, this is everything. Because it's not. Try different things.
Right.
And then see what sticks, I guess.
Yeah, and that's also kind of a way to faulty method proof yourself. Is if you've got enough methodologies that you've got, if you've cast a wide net, you won't fall victim to just one bad technique. If you've studied, that's another thing is sort of a devout, messianic mentality to one teacher usually isn't healthy for a menagerie of reasons. But yeah, if you've learned 5 different acting techniques and one of them either A, sucks on paper or B, sucks for you, guess what? You've got those other 4 to draw on, and that will have influenced you. So that's actually a good way to bad technique proof yourself, is
Trial
learn
and
many.
error.
Now, this doesn't mean go to like a class of everything. You're like, I now know Stanislavski, Meisner, Adler, and Linklater. No, you do have to spend some time with these things.
Right.
So casting in a wide net does take time, but it is worth your time.
Yeah.
And I have faith that people will find a way to do that, whether that's pursuing an institution or reading voraciously.
Yeah, basically just don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. That's good advice.
This in regards to school, but also kind of in general, is I think the most important thing in your learning and in your growing is to just be open. There is nothing more deadly than resistance. Genuinely, just for example, when I was at Stella Adler, you know, it was a wonderful experience, and, you know, we went through and we had different groups each semester, and for our final semester we had like my favorite group ever, and everyone was wonderful, and one day one person was absent and the whole dynamic was completely different, and it was in that moment that we realized that person is always fighting. That person is incredibly resistant, and to have a room just filled with people who are ready and willing is a completely different thing than to even have one person who's resistant. So don't be that person and ruin the vibe for everybody else, but also ruin it for yourself. Because if you are resistant, you're pushing away your learning.
Yeah, you're guaranteed not to learn anything.
Exactly.
Whereas even if you think whatever exercise you're about to do is just asinine, or if you are so tired of the 3-act structure that you want to vomit on your shoes,
That felt pointed, Keach.
oh really? This K-bar knife was pointed. I never knew. But also to myself, I mean, I have been the resistant one in the room in one of my acting classes before.
Sure. We all have.
Yeah, it does happen. But again, you're not magically going to become a worse actor by doing one bad exercise.
No.
You're not. You might.
How do you know it's not going to work?
Yeah, you might be bored to tears for 5 minutes. But that's worst thing that can happen to you. And you don't prove anything by proving the teacher wrong and being, whoa, you're so clever.
You only prove that you're a jerk.
Yeah, you don't gain anything from that. There's absolutely no profit. You're not a pushover because you've submitted to their... No, throw your ego out in your learning.
It's a resistance to vulnerability is all it is.
I mean, don't let yourself be pushed around. There's a difference between resisting a bully and resisting bad methodology. Because again, bad methodology can't hurt you. It just won't. Because if you know it to be bad, you won't take it out where it matters. And that's where that supplemental learning and that self-practice comes in. To sort of, if that happens to you, again, don't be resistant in the classroom. Be resistant in your professional practice.
And also, if you do resist, I can speak from experience, you will regret it. And you'll wish you hadn't. You'll look back and be like, I wasted my time. Why didn't I just try the thing? That was so silly of me. I should have just let down my guard or whatever the case may be and just done it. Would it have hurt me? Absolutely not. I think it hurts you to resist.
And of course, all this we're talking about in like healthy sort of.
No,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, right. Just to
don't resist in a silly way. Don't resist silly
like
things.
recklessly.
Resist bad things, obviously,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Again, that's sort of differentiating between a bully instructor and
And I
bad,
don't like,
and bad methodology and bad technique.
Right.
Or not even bad, just technique that doesn't work for you.
That you don't like.
Yeah, because I've also encountered that out there. I'm not a big Meisner guy. We had 4 weeks of a Meisner specialist come in, work with us, but I didn't... by then I kind of learned my resistance lesson, embraced it wholeheartedly. Did a crazy exercise where I'm trying to learn how to play a song on a piano while carry out a conversation. Which I'm like, what is that? Or, the repetition thing where Meisnerites love to sit across from each other and just repeat the same thing the other said.
Yeah.
I did it. I did that for 20 minutes at a time once. And it didn't. And you know what? The very least, it gave me a funny story to tell either at a bar or conveniently at a podcast. So yeah, it really cannot harm you in any way.
Just do it. Why not?
Yeah, as
What
Vishal,
else are you there for?
Honestly, yeah. Like, what else are you there for?
Yeah.
And you also might pick up nuggets that you never thought would be useful to you. I am not a physical theater person. Or like a really sort of highly conceptual, symbolic sort of thing. But from my viewpoints training that I had in graduate, I found directing techniques I can use.
Yeah.
I took that and applied it in sort of a curveball way. From my teacher intended us to use it as actors. It didn't work for me in that way, but I paid attention to it and figured out a purpose for it that did work for me. And so I had this big ensemble cast that I was directing the next semester, and it worked out gangbusters, getting them and fine-tuning their interaction with each other and their understanding of what they were doing as characters. Yeah. So yeah, you never know what odd technique or technique that doesn't work for you in one regard won't help you later.
And in that vein, also, in regards to the other things that we were speaking about, directing, writing, don't limit yourself, because resistance is limitation. You're just telling yourself, I can't, or I don't want to. And if you tell yourself you can't, then you won't.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I told myself I wasn't a writer, and then, well, there's my stand-up. It happened.
Yeah.
So do it. Just do the thing that you think that you can't.
Yeah.
And professionally, it's good to just, again, fully commit and do the thing, because you never know who out there uses that mindset or that approach. It's helped me a lot as an actor in the rehearsal room that I paid attention and didn't just zone out for those viewpoint classes and for my other physical theater approaches, because I've been in processes as an actor where the director's utilizing those techniques, especially viewpoints, and a little bit of Suzuki even. The actors out there will know what I'm talking about. The rest, don't worry about it. So yeah, if I hadn't paid attention in those lessons that I personally didn't find useful as an actor, or that I didn't like those techniques, I would be more lost in that rehearsal room. I'd be less trustworthy. I'd be more out of touch with the director's vision. It would have hurt my on-the-job performance. So just having those vocabularies, because as an actor, you might run into a director that's influenced by Meisner. As a writer, you might encounter producers that say 3-act structure or die. Or you might run into a production team that really likes a more organic, team-based approach, a writer's room, if you've only learned how to write as an individual, as a singular, you're like, I can't do with other voices in the room. You have shut yourself off to so many jobs. And yeah, same can be said about directors, where sometimes a different approach's bag of tricks is going to work better. And in communicating with actors, honestly, for directors, understanding different directing approaches, because it helps you so very much if you are flexible in your approach. Because actors are strange little creatures with strange little eccentricities, and they're very sensitive creatures, and if they find a sensation they don't like, they'll go,
That was rude.
I am one.
No, I was being funny because you called me sensitive, so I was being sensitive.
That's why she's the comedian, everybody.
I'll be here all week.
What was I saying? Right. So it'll help you if you are able to adopt different approaches. If you love an intellectualizing of a text, and that's what you do as a director, don't forget that you might have to go in sort of a physically representative thing, have some sort of exercise for your actor to do, because that actor might just not jive with the mentalism thing. And it'll just smooth out your process so very much. That same ensemble cast that I had doing viewpoints, I had 12 actors to deal with. So I had 12 very different individuals in that room. And if I had just stuck to one singular directing lens for that production, if I had my one way I worked and my one way that I communicated with actors, I would have been sunk. Half my cast would have been alienated, because some of them were very mental, very intellectual, very analytical, and some of them were very sensory, very in tune with physical sensation and rhythm, and talked in an emotional language rather than what am I trying to do or get from this person. So no matter what your discipline, writer, actor, director, if you are so exclusive and so shutting out and so resistant to things that don't completely jive with you, that's not only going to help. It's not going to just hurt your development as an artist, which it will. It's going to hurt you professionally. It's a big old double-edged sword.
It's very good. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I hope you found this information helpful in your pursuit of tools for storytelling. If you have, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out the other 3 parts of this conversation. Thank you for watching.